I mentioned them briefly. I explored the Olmec mystery in considerable depth. It's considered to be the earliest high culture of Central America. Everybody's heard about the Aztecs.
Imagine this. Deep in the jungles of southern Mexico, an AI system built on quantum computing begins reading stones. Not just any stones, but the ancient carvings of the Olmec, a civilization that rose and vanished nearly 3,000 years ago, long before the Maya or the Aztec ever appeared. At first, the symbols looked like every other artifact buried in museum basements: spirals, triangles, sun patterns. But then something impossible happened. The AI recognized a pattern, not of language, but of logic, a sequence of markings that seemed to describe growth, life, and even genetic structure. The scientists laughed until they realized the spiral wasn't decorative. It matched, line for line, the shape of DNA. That discovery alone should have rewritten textbooks, but it was only the beginning. Because hidden in those same carvings was a second pattern, a series of geometric symbols that, when mapped onto satellite data, pointed to a ridge in the jungles of Tabasco, Mexico, a place where no ancient city was ever supposed to exist. When they scanned the area using LiDAR, the same technology that uncovered lost Mayan cities, the ground lit up like a blueprint: straight lines, massive platforms, perfect alignments. Beneath the earth lay something built on a scale rivaling the Great Pyramids of Levanta, and it had been deliberately hidden. The discovery sent quiet shockwaves through the scientific world. A small circle of researchers was placed under confidentiality orders. Guards appeared around the site, and leaked memos whispered that what the AI had found wasn't just a lost city, it was a message. A message written in symbols that shouldn't exist. Symbols that predict lunar eclipses, record soil chemistry, and describe underground rivers with eerie accuracy. For the first time, humanity was facing a mystery decoded not by man, but by machine. Yet, the deeper the AI dug, the stranger the story became. It began linking the Olmec carvings to modern data, the mineral content of the soil, the magnetic fields of the land, even astronomical cycles invisible to the naked eye. The symbols seemed to map a knowledge system, one that united farming, astronomy, and geology centuries before modern science existed. If this is true, then everything we think we know about early civilization, who invented writing, agriculture, even scientific observation, may need to be rewritten. But this is not just a story about discovery, it's a story about power. Because this AI project wasn't run by a university or a national museum, it was a collaboration between Mexican archaeologists and a private California tech company that owns the very algorithm used to decode the stones. And that raises a question that could change the future of archaeology forever. When artificial intelligence unlocks the knowledge of an ancient civilization, who owns that knowledge? The descendants of the Olmec, the nation that guards the land, or the company that built the machine? In this video, we'll explore what this AI really found: the strange patterns carved into stone, the hidden site that may hold the oldest calendar in the Americas, and the ethical storm now threatening to bury this discovery as quickly as it was unearthed. Because sometimes, the past doesn't stay buried. Sometimes it fights to be remembered. When the team first fed the Olmec carvings into the AI system, no one expected more than decorative motifs. The carvings had been studied for decades. Museum labels called them ritual symbols, offerings, or simply unknown meaning. But the algorithm saw something humans didn't. Instead of searching for spoken language, the AI searched for relationships, how one symbol connected to another, and what physical realities those pairings mirrored. It compared thousands of carvings to satellite maps, soil surveys, and astronomical data. Slowly, patterns began to emerge. One shape, a spiral etched into stone, kept appearing in strange consistency. It showed up near fields, alongside numbers, and beside what appeared to be measurements of crop yields. The AI flagged it as statistically impossible to be random. Then came the eerie revelation: the spiral's exact geometry mirrored the double helix pattern of DNA. For the Olmec to have understood genetics was impossible. But perhaps they had noticed the repeating patterns of life, the way corn traits passed down through generations, the hidden rhythm behind growth itself. The data suggested that the spiral was less a symbol of worship and more a scientific observation, a code for inheritance and agricultural selection. In modern terms, they had created an early genetic record, carved in stone. That alone would make headlines. But the spiral was only one piece of the puzzle. Another symbol, a stepped triangle inside a circle, began to appear repeatedly near volcanic zones and basalt quarries. The Olmec used these quarries to carve enormous heads weighing up to 50 tons, feats that still baffle engineers today. Yet the AI noticed that these triangles clustered around thermal anomalies, areas where underground heat was strongest. At first, it seemed like coincidence, but cross-referencing with modern geothermal maps revealed a 94% match. These weren't myths about sun serpents, as researchers once thought. They were data points, records of the Earth breathing through volcanic vents. The Olmec, it appeared, had turned natural observation into a language of precision, one that tracked the heartbeat of the planet itself. But what if those symbols weren't just describing nature? What if they were pointing to something, hidden among hundreds of carvings? The AI discovered one particularly complex design, a stepped frame enclosing a curved sun arc. The program labeled it the gate. Each time this gate symbol appeared, it sat beside marks resembling coordinates, direction indicators, tiny arrows, in measured intervals. Curious, the researchers fed those coordinates into a mapping system aligned with known Olmec sites. What lit up shocked everyone. The data formed a triangle linking three ancient cities, La Venta, San Lorenzo, and Tres Zapotes, and at its eastern edge, an unexplored ridge deep in Tabasco's jungle. LiDAR scans of that ridge revealed geometric shapes hidden beneath the forest canopy, straight lines, perfect platforms, and rectangular terraces. Beneath the surface, ground-penetrating radar showed chambers and corridors running 15 meters underground. Archaeologists estimate the complex spans over 12 hectares, the size of 17 football fields. And here's the most startling part. Radiocarbon tests suggest the site predates La Venta by centuries, if accurate. That means this buried complex could be the oldest monumental construction in all of Mesoamerica. So how did the Olmec know to hide it? The gate symbol may finally hold the answer. Within its lines, the AI identified tiny markings corresponding to solstices and equinoxes, celestial indicators that, when plotted over the Tabasco site, form a perfect solar calendar. The site wasn't just a temple or city, it was an observatory, tuned to the rhythm of the heavens. If you think this sounds like something out of a movie, you're not alone. Even the scientists involved privately called it unsettling. The discoveries didn't just challenge their understanding of the Olmec, they challenged the story of civilization itself. Because for decades, historians have taught that the Olmec were proto-civilized, primitive compared to later cultures like the Maya. But these findings tell a different story, of a people who mapped the stars, tracked volcanoes, engineered soil fertility, and possibly encoded knowledge across generations with mathematical accuracy. One basalt pillar from San Lorenzo contained 4 layers of information: astronomy, geography, resources, and time markers, packed into just 30 symbols. In data density, that rivals some early Mesopotamian tablets. As one researcher confessed in a leaked memo, "We're not ready for what this means." The AI has now cataloged over 340 distinct glyphs, more than some recognize alphabets. They don't represent sound, they represent relationships, cause and effect, ratio and rhythm. In essence, the Olmec were describing how the world worked, not just telling stories about it, but if these carvings preserve knowledge, agricultural secrets, geological data, even medicinal clues, then the next question is explosive. Who gets to control what's being unlocked? This is where the story takes a darker turn. The project Decoding the Symbols isn't purely academic. It's a joint venture between Universidad Veracruzana in Mexico and a private tech firm in California, which provided the proprietary AI system. That means the code capable of reading the symbols, and therefore accessing any secrets they hold, is corporate property. If the AI identifies formulas for sustainable farming, drought resistance, or plant-based medicines, who owns that knowledge? The indigenous communities whose ancestors carved it, the scientists who found it, or the shareholders funding the AI? Experts in cultural heritage law are calling this the first digital colonization of the ancient world. Thousands of years of indigenous wisdom may soon be filtered through corporate servers, copyrighted, patented, and licensed. Meanwhile, indigenous leaders are demanding co-ownership of the findings and veto power over any commercial use. They argue that these aren't dead relics, they're living memory, sacred heritage still belonging to the descendants of the Olmec. And they may be right. Many of the carvings appear in religious contexts, temple walls, ceremonial altars, and sacred figurines. If AI begins decoding those symbols into industrial data, is it revealing wisdom or violating prayer? The researchers themselves are split. Some believe open publication will protect the work from exploitation. Others have already resigned, fearing the project will be used for profit rather than preservation. One insider described the situation bluntly: "We opened a door, we just don't know who or what is walking through it." And through it all, the AI keeps working, tireless, unfeeling, translating the voices of a civilization that never asked to be translated. What began as a scientific experiment has turned into something far deeper, a confrontation between ancient wisdom and modern ambition. 3,000 years ago, the Olmec carved knowledge into stone, tracking the stars, the soil, and the heartbeat of the earth. They didn't seek power, they sought harmony. And now artificial intelligence, our own creation, is reading their symbols, piece by piece, as if the past itself is speaking again. But what will we do with what it tells us? The AI that unlocked the gate symbol also unlocked a moral one, a doorway between discovery and domination. If these carvings truly hold agricultural science, astronomical precision, and ecological insight, then their value isn't just historical, it's spiritual, it's human. The Olmec once wrote about balance, the rhythm between life and the land. Today, we stand before that same balance, only with machines instead of chisels. So maybe the question isn't what they knew. Maybe it's whether we've learned enough to listen. Will we use their wisdom to restore what we've lost? Or let technology turn their sacred knowledge into another profit line? Perhaps the greatest mystery isn't buried beneath the jungle. It's buried inside us. What do you think? Are we rediscovering humanity's oldest science, or repeating its oldest mistake? Tell me your thoughts below. And if you want to keep exploring the secrets our ancestors left behind, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because sometimes the past doesn't stay buried. Sometimes it calls us back.